International Women's Day March takes center stage in Honduras, and Petrobras CEO taken into custody in Brazil. Those are our headlines. My name is Reagan Vignes, and this is From the South. Thank you so much for joining us. Our lead story takes place in the Honduran capital of Tegucigalpa, where hundreds of women marched to commemorate indigenous leader Berta Caceres on International Women's Day. Caceres' organization, COPIN, released a statement on Monday blaming the Honduran state for her murder and for trying to frame a member of the organization. The protesters demanded justice for the murdered leader and an end to violence.
We think that Berta's death was very unjust. That's why we are here. We want changes, and we demand the government to stop the violence, to investigate who was behind the murder of Berta Caceres.
For us, the assassination of Berta was clearly a political assassination, and that has made us organize today to demand justice, and to demand an end to the repression against people who defend human rights, but also against women.
Dozens of women gathered in Bogota to demonstrate in favor of a peace agreement between the FARC guerrilla group and the government, and to commemorate the International Day of Women under the campaign 1 Million Women for Peace. Political leaders such as former presidential candidate Claudia Lopez attended the event to boost support for peace talks currently taking place in Havana.
1 million women constructing peace, changing the culture of violence that has pervaded Colombian society, and having one that will eliminate all forms of violence, especially the forms of violence against women. Colombia is a failed state when it comes to protecting the human rights of women in Colombia.
The Petrobras scandal has a new turn after the head of one of Brazil's largest companies was detained some hours ago. The CEO of Latin America's largest engineering and construction conglomerate, Marcelo Obedrecht, received a 19-year sentence for bribery, money laundering and organized crime related to the massive Petrobras corruption scandal in Brazil. According to the court hearings, Obedrecht paid around $2 billion in bribes to obtain beneficial contracts with state-controlled Petrobras. And President Dilma Rousseff lashed out against the opposition for what she considers are attempts to divide the nation. The president acknowledged that Brazil is going through difficult times, but clarified that the attacks against former President Lula and herself are examples of how the opposition seeks to make the situation worse. The Argentine opposition, led by former Finance Minister Alex Kicillof, has announced that they will issue an independent review of the government's agreement with a group of creditors dubbed the Vulture Funds. The Front for Victory lawmakers say that the creditors speculated with the change of government, which is why they did not accept the demands made by the government of former President Cristina Fernandez. Venezuela's opposition has launched a new campaign to oust Nicolas Maduro this year. The strategy includes a recall referendum, a constitutional amendment to reduce presidential term limits, and a series of nationwide protests. Analysts fear that protests could turn violent based on previous recent protests.
We call on all the people of Venezuela to mobilize, to, first of all, secure the resignation of Nicolas Maduro of the presidency of the Republic.
They want to get me out of here, to go for you, compatriots, to go for your home. Nobody's getting me out of here, gentlemen.
Despite the result of last month's referendum in Bolivia, President Evo Morales is holding an approval rating of 58%. Well, that's according to a recent nationwide survey. He is most popular in the city of El Alto near La Paz, and his approval rating after 10 years in power is one of the highest in recent history. An arson at a church in Chile's Araucanía region has given way to an investigation in which the police are targeting indigenous Mapuche communities. In surrounding areas around the church, the communities are demanding rights over ancestral land. However, there is no evidence which points at people from the Mapuche community, which is why critics believe authorities will try to use the indigenous population as scapegoats to justify further repression. Primaries continue in the U.S. presidential campaign as independent Michael Bloomberg says he will not join the race. The two remaining Democratic presidential candidates are left in the race. Here is Bianca Perez with more.
often being abused.
Primary voting is underway in the states of Michigan and Mississippi for the Democratic Party. A recent Monmouth University poll showed a slight advantage in Michigan for candidate Hillary Clinton with 55% to 42%. However, the large minority population in that state could be an advantage for Senator Sanders. The Republicans are also hosting their primaries in these two states as well as the states of Idaho and Hawaii. We will of course keep you up to date with all of the information as the votes begin to come in. Bianca Perez, teleSur, Washington, D.C.
And as people vote in Michigan and Mississippi, we go to our correspondent Bianca Perez, who is joining us live. Hi Bianca, it's good to see you. Can you tell us what's happening right now in Michigan?
Hi Reagan, how are you? Yes, so Michigan right now is a little under 2 hours before their polls close, and it is the most important state of today for both Republicans and Democrats because it is the largest number of delegates that is being given out to them. So on the Democratic side, it is 166 delegates at play. On the Republican side, it is 150. And this could, of course, mark a huge advantage for whoever gets the majority of these delegates. Now, as I mentioned before, it could be a slight advantage for Hillary Clinton so far, but the polls still have not closed, so we have not begun to see any finalized results yet. And it is something that everybody is waiting for. There's been a lot of speculation on who's going to win this, whether this is going to be the state that gives both parties the absolute advantage, as Donald Trump is still the front runner on the Republican side, and with this victory, he could get a lot of delegates pushing him forward, and this could also narrow down the field on the Republican side, as a lot of people are saying that Marco Rubio and John Kasich wouldn't really have much of a path to actually getting the nomination if they do not win Michigan. So it is a crucial state for them. As far as the Democrats go, it would be a crucial win for Bernie Sanders, who had, 3 victories over the weekend. This could be something that could boost up his delegate count. Of course, it could also be a lead, more of a lead for Hillary Clinton, who is currently the front runner. But the difference between them is only 195 delegates so far. So it is not something that is a substantial difference. And obviously, they split the delegates. So it's not that the winner gets the absolute all of the delegates. It is a portion of the delegates. So either way, both of them are going to benefit from today's results in Michigan and in Mississippi, which is also voting on the Democratic side.
And lastly, Bianca, we understand that Bernie Sanders could be benefiting from large voter turnouts. Do you think it's likely that he can close the margin with Clinton?
Yes, so he has brought out a lot of the youth. He has brought out a lot of people who had not voted in previous primary elections. Primary election turnout this year has been bigger than in other years. So it's interesting to see how he has kind of brought out those people who'd never kind of been involved in politics before, and this could definitely be something that could give him an advantage. I think that is what his campaign is hoping for. So we will have to see at the end of the day what the polls say and what the people actually voted for.
Thanks so much. We'll touch base with you later on. Thanks again.
Thank you, Reagan.
Moving on now, a U.S. court has ruled that policeman William Porter must testify in the cases of colleagues charged over the custody death of Freddie Gray. Porter himself went on trial in the case in 2015, but a mistrial was declared and a fresh trial has been set for later this year. This means that the trial for the 5 other officers can now proceed. German Chancellor Angela Merkel met with the UN's Ban Ki-moon to address the refugee crisis and the Syrian conflict. Ban voiced concern over the strict policies that the EU bloc will be implementing.
I'm concerned that many European countries are adopting increasingly restrictive asylum policies. Extreme right-wing and nationalistic political parties are inflaming the situation when we need to be seeking solutions, harmonious solutions based on shared responsibilities.
The Vice President of the United States, Joe Biden, met with former Israeli President Shimon Peres at the Peres Center for Peace in Tel Aviv. They both will hold talks with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on Wednesday. Biden's visit comes on the heels of Netanyahu's rejecting talks with U.S. President Barack Obama in Washington. He's also scheduled to meet Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas. On International Women's Day, a photo exhibition is paying homage to Gaza's women. More now with Noha Razin.
The Press House in Western Gaza City inaugurated Tuesday morning a photo exhibition for International Women's Day. The day has been annually celebrated around the world for over a century. The exhibition, titled In Their Own Eyes, showcases around 200 pictures taken by 3 Palestinian female photographers, Zainab Awaida, Sana Al-Ajiz, and Nadia Hassaniya. The images depict nature and beauty, going beyond the common sense of destruction, death, and blood that people are used to seeing in occupied territory.
On Women's Day, my message to the Palestinian women inside Palestine and in the diaspora is that you're worthy of living a dignified life and enjoying liberty and independence in your own state. This exhibition highlights the situation of Palestinian women, particularly in Gaza Strip, because we are living in it.
March 8 is the day set aside by the international community to stress that women's rights be granted under international laws and standards. It comes this year, however, as many Palestinian women are suffering arrest, humiliation, and even death by Israeli occupation forces aimed a wave of violence that has stirred tension in occupied Jerusalem and the West Bank since the beginning of October. Noha Razin, teleSur's TV, Gaza.
Myanmar's parliament is seeing a wave of women MPs in parliament. Women now make up over 14% of the combined national parliament, which is a dramatic increase from the previous legislature. One such woman is Win Tatun, who stood for election while pregnant with her son, who was born just days before she took her seat. She explained her decision to ignore conservative views and enter into politics. On Monday, tennis star Maria Sharapova revealed that she had failed a drug test at this year's Australia's Open. She tested positive for a drug named meldonium, which increases blood flow and improves exercise capacity in athletes. Sharapova admitted that she's been taking it since the year 2006. As a result, she has been provisionally banned from the sport.
I'm Hiromi from the Mainichi newspaper.
Bangkok's art scene has traditionally been overlooked in favor of places like Hong Kong, but in recent years, venues have mushroomed with local and expatriate artists, turning shop houses and unused spaces into art venues. The blooming wave is in response to life under junta rule there, where the state has repressed the media as well as activists who speak out against the government. For more on these and other stories, you can visit our website, telesurtv.net/English, and you can join us on Instagram, Facebook, and on Twitter. From all of us here at teleSur, my name is Reagan. Have a good evening. Bye.